Good morning to all my friends and family, and welcome to this episode of all that I've learned from Tony Robbins over the years. Where else in the world can you hop off a train and have this magnificent view? It's just sublime, just unbelievable that we have such beauty in this country. We've got the Museum of Contemporary Art over there, the Harbour Bridge, and the Opera House, as well as Circular Quay and all the ferries. Just fantastic, and it's going to be an absolute cracker of a day. Unfortunately today I can't be over there at the International Passenger Terminal because I need to start work a little earlier today, which means that I'll do my vlog from this vantage point, which isn't all that bad, and we'll see what we can learn, we'll see what we can talk about, and we'll see what we can live, learn and pass on. Tony Robbins has many pearls of wisdom that he shares with his audiences. He shares through his books and through his tape programs, which I absolutely loved listening to back in the 90s. And he says something really interesting, that games are a reflection of life. And from a very young age, as children, we get to indulge in lots of games, and all of those games, believe it or not, teach us valuable lessons. They teach us life skills. And I remember listening to one of Tony Robbins' tape series where he talked about the fact that games are a reflection of life, and you can observe people's behaviour through games, and that way you can get some clues and some cues into what makes them tick. I remember one of the tape series that Tony Robbins did, he did with a advertising guru. I think it was called Mark McCormack, if my memory serves me right. But then again, I haven't listened to these tapes. I haven't listened to this interview for over 30 years. But I think it could have been Mark McCormack who said that in his negotiations, what he would do is he would take executives and potential clients out of their own comfort zone, take them out of their offices and take them to a neutral place, like a golf course, and play a game of golf with them. And he said that through the game, he could observe certain elements of their character and of their behaviour, and he could use the knowledge gained from those games to figure out the best way of connecting and negotiating with those people. And the example that he uses is that you'd be on the putting green about to putt out, and you would get your ball within a foot of the hole, and in that situation an opponent would either give it to you, claim it as a gimme, saying you don't have to putt it out, or somebody else who's more of a perfectionist and has a lot more rules in their life and is more due diligence focused would request you or ask you or imply that you need to putt it out. And just a simple observation like that would make a huge difference to how you negotiate with people, knowing their style and their style becomes evident because of how they behave when they're playing games. When I was at university there at Sydney University back in the 70s, late 70s and early 80s, often played cards with my mates. We played Manila, poker, and we'd catch up, and it's amazing how much you can learn about another person by engaging them in card games. And I remember my parents saying that a person's true character comes out when they're playing cards or when they're gambling, when they've got something to win, because winning brings out something different in a person's character. Tony Robbins says, the minute you say you want to win, you pay more attention and you do things a little bit more different. There's a big difference between somebody who's trying to win and somebody who's just trying to fill their time and pass their time. There is a big difference, a huge difference in terms of how they behave. The other thing that Tony Robbins talks about at his seminars is that failure is only failure when you quit and you don't try again. So that moment in your life when you decide that enough is enough and you don't want to continue something can be considered to be either an exit strategy where you've tried all the different angles and approaches and you realise that it's not God's will for you to have a certain outcome regardless of how much you try. We all need to understand that every person has a different fate. We all have a different past, we all have a different present, and we're all going to enjoy a different future. And yesterday or today may not be your day in terms of getting the outcome that you desire. You don't know what may happen yet tomorrow, but we all need to understand that we have different fates in our lives, and just because it worked for your parents, uncles, aunts, your friends, doesn't necessarily mean it's going to happen for you, and vice versa. Just because it didn't happen for you yesterday doesn't mean it's not going to happen for you tomorrow. So there is an appreciation that we need to accept and to appreciate that all people have different fates, and we need to test life. We need to give life a crack, have a go, but of course there comes a point where you can't just keep on trying the same thing over and over again, or trying to get to the same place over and over again, when all of your attempts just end up with no outcome. So once again, each person needs to make the call, but give it enough chance, give it enough opportunity. And once again, a book that I read many years ago, The Greatest Salesman in the World, had a quote there, a little mantra that the salespeople would use. And I forget how the mantra went, but it was to this sort of effect, that the more doors that I knock on, the closer I get to a yes. The more I try, the more luckier I become. So you just never know. You may get 100 refusals, and then the next 3 doors you knock on, maybe 3 yeses. You just got to keep on going and to believe in the process and to try and get the outcomes and surf the opportunities as and when they present themselves. Because humans at the end of the day are habitual in nature. We do things out of habit, and other people do things out of habit as well. And by observing your own habits and by observing other people's habits, gets you into a position where you can understand what makes you tick, what makes them tick, and by understanding what makes you tick, what triggers you, then you can start to adjust and you can start to play those triggers so that you can create in your life and in other people's lives positive and empowering triggers. What a concept that is, to think that you can actually implement and work triggers to your advantage. And why not? Media, advertisers, people around us use this technique, use this strategy all the time. And once you understand how you can stack triggers to get certain outcomes, then you can start making it work in your life to influence in a positive way yourself and others. And you can also figure out how to get yourself to stop things by implementing and stacking negative triggers to stop you doing things, and also using positive reinforcement by adding trigger upon trigger to get you to do things and to move in a positive and productive direction. Tony Robbins is big on action, where he says massive action equals massive results. And the key message that came from the recent seminar, the recent UPW, is that wishing doesn't get you anything. You can wish all you want in the world, but unless you wish and desire things in a productive way, where you connect it to action, then you're not going to really get all that far, unless you're very, very lucky. But very, very few people just sit in a room and gold just amasses around them, or all their dreams come true. You've got to go out there and you've got to try and actualize your dreams, actualize all the things that you need in your life so that you can live the best possible life you can. And guess what? Tony Robbins also says, and he uses an analogy of a tree, an olive tree, and he says, when is the best time to plant an olive tree? And the answer he gives is the best time was 10 years ago. But the second best time to plant an olive tree is right now. And the same thing happens in our lives. The best time to take action was yesterday. But the second best time is right now. Right now, you can do something, anything, to get you closer to your goals, to help propel you to the outcomes that you need, and to not worry about the fact that you missed out on opportunities last week, last year, a decade ago. As long as you start now, you can change your now and you can change your future. You can change the direction. You can change the trajectory of your life by complementing and supplementing and doing things now, because Tony Robbins says that most people overestimate what they can do in 1 year but underestimate what they can do in 10. And what he means there is that there is a compounding effect. There's an exponential effect that is connected to decision making. When you do things incrementally, what happens is it's not sequential, it's not a serial sort of equation, but more of an exponential equation where 1 + 1 doesn't equal 2, it could equal 3, it could equal 1,000. You just start to build and it snowballs, and you've got no idea potentially what outcomes you can achieve over time. But we have to understand that change in the world, change in our lives, change in our relationships is inevitable, and everything is in motion, and the universe is expanding. I remember years ago, a friend of mine, Cleo Adonio, gave me a book. I think it was called The History of Time by Steve, I've forgotten his name, that great scientist, Steve Hawking. That's right, Steve Hawking. And I remember reading a profound paragraph in there where Steve Hawking says that the universe is continuing to expand every single day, every moment. The universe is expanding, which I thought was quite profound and quite powerful. And that all the stars, all the planets, all the galaxies are growing and expanding and moving further apart. And I remember then having one of those thoughts saying that whilst the universe, the stars and the planets are all expanding and growing further and further apart from each other, how interesting is it that as humans, as people, as individuals, we also are expanding and growing further apart from our family, our friends, and it's just a constant sort of, a constant in our lives. We just need to appreciate it, that it's happening. It's happening in the universe, and it's also happening to ourselves. And God invites us to continue to grow and develop, and to realise that whilst everything is changing and continues to change, we need to also make sure that we're growing and developing, because today's 8 is going to be tomorrow's 6. And if we're not careful, if we're not fueling and investing in our growth and development, the opposite of growth and expansion is death and decay. So in order to live, we need to grow, we need to expand, we need to invest in ourselves, and we need to do things to keep on moving. As my friend John DeBassa says, just keep going, keep on moving, don't stay in the one spot, otherwise you'll become a target and life will trap you. So keep on making your luck by just doing things on a daily basis. And it's not about just change. I remember years ago at IBM having a realisation that in our lives, whilst things are changing and while change is constant, the only thing that doesn't change in our life is God. God is beyond time, beyond space, doesn't change, is constant. It's one of those constants in our lives. Just like in many ways our marriage, our relationship with our partner is a constant. To many people, their work is a constant. And we need certain constants. We need certain routines to keep us sane and to help us be and express who we are. But what I learned back at IBM, back in those days, is that it's not about change, it's about improvement. And what we need to do is we need to try and identify and to implement in our lives lasting changes, but more importantly, for those changes to be lasting improvements, and to use the technology, to use the science that Anthony Robbins helps explain and share with us, to be able to make the most of the opportunities that you have available to you, and to be, I guess, the co-partner, the co-worker in growth and development, to do things that are God-pleasing, to serve God with all your heart, mind and soul, to love God with all your heart, mind and soul, and also to love your neighbour, to love one another as you love yourself. And of course the clue there is you need to love yourself first in order to be able to love others, and you need to love God in order to express and to understand and to receive love. So some important and interesting lessons. Anyway, I think I'll leave it there for today, because as I say, I need to cut it short and to get to work a little bit early to get things done. And I look forward to coming to you again from a different place with a different message of empowerment, where we take all of those gems, all of those morsels that we've been able to come across, stumble across, and to absorb from UPW and all the books and all the tapes that Anthony Robbins has put together, and to use it, to incorporate it, to invest in it, and to embrace it, so that we make the best of the life that we have, and to express who we are, to express our calling, and to once again, as we said, be the best version of who we are that we can be. Anyway, I'll hop on the train now, head off to Mascot, and see where this Friday takes us. Wishing you all the best. Take care. And let's get on this train. What of you? As I said, where else in the world could you get on or off public transport and have this most magnificent view of Circular Quay, Sydney Harbour, one of the most beautiful and best cities in the world. Take care, everybody. Have a great day, and until we chat again, bye for now.